Hello, everyone. I'm so excited today to be doing a YouTube live. I have done several Facebook lives, and I'm super excited today to be doing this on YouTube. So, today I would like to share with you a message, and the message is about balance. Where do we find the balance? This is what I see in society right now, in mainstream media, and people all over the world, basically. What are they saying? And I've noticed a common theme, I've noticed a pattern. And what this pattern is pointing to is an imbalance. And today I want to address this imbalance. The question that I want to ask is, can we thrive without each other? It seems like an obvious question, right? Of course, we need each other to thrive. But when we think about the way Western societies are structured, we do have to recognize that there is quite a bit of emphasis that we have put on individualism. What do I mean by individualism? Well, things like self care. Self care is all about the self, your own journey, and your own healing. And if this person doesn't agree, well, you set the boundary. And, I talk about self care and boundaries a lot because I am very passionate about creating and maintaining healthy relationships. And part of having healthy relationships is having those boundaries. It's knowing that if someone's having a negative influence on you and they're always making your emotional state a negative one, you limit your contact with them. You set up a boundary with them, and which is part of your self-care routine. This part of self-care is part of self-love. It's part of your healing journey. And it is very important. But when it goes into overdrive, when we become hyper individualistic, there is a cost to this. And this is what I want to address today. Now, hear me out, because we have been told that it's very important to focus on your own needs and focus on your passion and focus on your goals and be resilient and one step at a time and 1% better every day. And it's very much individualistic focused. And I'm not criticizing your decisions if that's where you're coming from, because I do understand there is a time and place for it. And this is where I want to start the discussion today. Understanding that when we become hyper individualistic, when we focus so much on our own needs and our own boundaries and our own self-care and our own emotional state and our own mind and our own trauma and our own healing, what we fail to see is the blind spots. It blinds us to the effect that we could be having on others. For example, while you're so busy chasing your corporate job or chasing your passions or chasing your dreams or going inwards and meditating and healing, while you're doing that, maybe you're neglecting your relationships with others. Maybe you're isolating yourself. Maybe people around you are feeling like you're not showing up for them in their lives. Maybe they need your support. And that's where it becomes hyper individualistic, and there is a cost to that. The cost to that is what you could be building in your relationships. And so I want you to start thinking about how this applies in your life. Because in some areas, it's almost become an excuse to well, I won't attend this social event because for my own self-care and my own mental health. And that's great. You want to set those boundaries, but understand there is a cost to that. And also there is value sometimes in self-sacrificing a little bit. Not like, I don't mean not taking it to the extreme, but to the point where understanding like growth exists outside your comfort zone. And so if you want to grow, you are going to have to make some decisions, which might look like self-sacrifice. It might look like discomfort because you're outside of your comfort zone, because you need to grow, because you want to grow and expand and transform and become a better person and improve your life and improve yourself. So where is that line for you? At what point will you take the discomfort so that you can grow? And at what point are you going to draw the boundary and understand that no, I actually won't be, if that's a bit too much outside my comfort zone. And that's actually a boundary I need to set because I know that it will have a negative impact on my mental health. And so I want you to start cultivating this sense of self awareness within yourself and understand that whichever decision that you make, it will have benefits and it will have downsides. And become aware of what those benefits and downsides are. Because the more aware you are of these things, the better decision maker you are. And here at Wellness with Zahra, I am all about effective decision making. And if you are feeling stuck with making a decision right now, there's too many things to think about, I have created a free tool for you. It's called an aligned action cheat sheet. And what it is the link for that is in the bio. And basically, it just asks you a bunch of questions about your decisions, and you get an emailed copy of a cheat sheet. And this cheat sheet basically shows you what your values are. It shows you the pros and cons of taking the action and making the decision. And it shows you the pros and cons of not taking the action, not making the decision, continuing life the way that it is. And so when you're able to see both the pros and cons of both of those decisions, it starts to give you a full picture. And then you can decide, well, what do I really value at the end of the day? Do I value growth or do I value safety? What's more important to me right now in this context? And so if you're interested in that, the link for that is in the description. Now, the second point that I would like to make is that we can actually gain strength from interdependence. And this is where I'll mention a fascinating documentary that I watched recently that has completely shifted my mindset. And if you've been following me on Facebook, you might be familiar with this story, which is this deep sea documentary that I was watching recently. And I was just so fascinated because the deep sea is where it's completely dark, the resources are scarce, and everything is just not struggling to survive, but there is a certain balance when it comes to the deep sea. And it's really, really interesting. And this is where I started to see this specific species of mussels, right? The deep sea mussels. They actually had this specific bacteria living inside them. Why? Well, the resources are scarce, right? You've got like the organic materials raining down on you. You've got some plumes of gas coming up from the bottom. Now, this bacteria actually thrived on the gas plumes and it was feeding on them. And what started happening is that when they feed on these gas plumes, they produce a waste material. But actually, this waste material is food for the mussels. And so what the mussels do is they start gathering themselves around these plumes, and they're not feeding the plumes, they're feeding the bacteria that's living in their mouths so that they have food. And this is the exact interdependence that I'm talking about when it comes to thriving as individuals, recognizing how we're interrelated and how we're interdependent. And you see how the life of the mussel depends on the survival of the bacteria. So it does things that it wouldn't do for itself, but it does for the survival of the bacteria. And this interdependence relationship exists, which is really, really powerful. So next, I want to talk about the resilience from belonging. Now, when we are being so hyper individualistic, what we fail to recognize is that we do have this need, one of 7 human needs, called belonging and love and connection. This important human need, some actually consider to be the only need. Now, I'm more of like a bigger picture person, and I recognize there is a time and place for all needs. And I think love is an important need, sense of belonging is an important need, but we also have other needs. So when it comes to resilience and building resilience, understand that our own internal struggle doesn't have to be the only thing that builds resilience. We can actually build resilience from having that interdependence. because we have a system of reliance, which is our community or it's our relationships. And that's what's actually bringing us that strength and resilience. We're actually having one of our basic human needs being met by not thinking about ourselves, but thinking about the collective. And we benefit each other because of the relationship that we have with each other, because we're relying on each other. Now, this is very much in contrast with codependency. Codependency is when you're so reliant on each other in relationships that you're stagnating each other's growth. That's codependency. I'm talking about interdependency. It's when you allow the dependency relationship to help each other move forward and get and transform and expand and improve your lives at the end of the day. So even though this question seems obvious, can we thrive without each other? The answer seems obvious. I feel that we as individuals have not thought this through very deeply. And this is where I want you to recognize and have some self awareness in your life that when you are making decisions, whether it's for yourself or for the collective, where are you coming from? Because if it is coming from a very hyper individualistic place, it's going to have some cost to it. It's going to have some blind spots. It's going to have some downsides. If you're focusing so much on your own personal journey, you might be undermining the relationships that you have with everybody else, and they might feel left out. And what about their sense of belonging? Maybe they want some acknowledgement. And significance is actually also one of the basic 7 human needs that we have. We want to feel significant in our in the world. We want that acknowledgement. We want that validation. It's actually a human need. Humans are very social creatures. We don't survive in isolation. Unfortunately, this is something that we've forgotten. When we start standing up for our own needs, and I want my personal freedoms, and I want this, and I'm demanding this, and I'm demanding that, there is a certain level where we've become hyper individualistic and we haven't seen the bigger picture. Now, think about this. When you have places like prisons and jails, and you really want to punish someone, what's the worst punishment that you can give to a human being? Is sending them to isolation, because we are so reliant on each other that feeling isolated is the worst form of torture that you can give to a human being. And this is where I want you to recognize that you cannot thrive on your own. And so when you are making decisions that are coming from maybe a hyper individualistic place, I'm not talking about just individualistic where you're honoring your own needs. Let's find that balance. We're not talking about black or white thinking here. This is about the balance. Understand that it does have an impact, or it does have a cost. So what I see happening right now on the world stage, when people are being so very outspoken about their own individual needs, and I need my needs are not being met, and I need this and I need that, they're coming from a place where they're feeling isolated. They're feeling isolated because they don't have connection. They don't have love. Because if your survival is dependent on the survival of others, you make sure that you make everybody's lives amazing and beautiful, because your life will be amazing and beautiful if you do that. You will be in an interdependent relationship, just like those mussels and the bacteria in the deep sea documentary that I just mentioned. They're both reliant on each other for their survival. And if this is the challenge that I would like to share with you, if you can imagine a society where we're actually dependent on each other for our survival and for us to thrive, how differently we would behave. How different would our actions be? How different would our decisions be? Because understand, one of the other human needs is contribution. We need to be able to contribute to the world, like volunteer and do something selfless so that we can feel good about ourselves. It's part of a human need, actually. It's one of our survival needs. At the same time, there is a competing need for growth, personal progress. And they're competing, because when you're contributing, it's a very selfless act. And when you're focusing on on growth and personal development, it's a very individual process. So just understanding that you want both of your needs to get met, but they are in competition with each other. What's important to you right now? What feels true to you right now? How can you still be in balance so that both of your needs are being met? And when you're focusing on your own personal growth, you're not undermining somebody else's needs. And when you are focusing on contribution, you're not undermining your own needs. How can you find that balance in your life? This is where I want you to start making more informed decisions in your life so they can see the bigger picture. And this is what I'm all about at Wellness with Zara. If you are enjoying this Facebook Live, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to do more of these because I generally only do them on Facebook. But if you're interested in this, I'm happy to do them regularly on YouTube as well. And I really hope to see you in the next one. Let me know if you have any questions. Do you want me to go deeper into the 7 human needs, for example? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to answer them. I'm always engaging in the comments. All right. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.